Hi, and welcome to the President's Forum podcast. Our guest today is also our newest member, Dr. Janet Spriggs, president of Forsyth Tech Community College. As our interview today will clearly show, her leadership is rooted in a student-first mindset and a commitment to delivering high-quality learning that changes lives. We'll also talk to Janet about her unique background, being a product of our community college system and now leading a community college. Let's get straight to our conversation. Janet, welcome to the President's Forum. It is so great to have you on the podcast today. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely, Wes. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity.
Well, help our listeners get to know you a little bit and Forsyth Tech. Start us out with how did you get to this position as leading this organization in North Carolina?
Well, my journey to being the president here at Forsyth Tech really started almost 30 years ago, way back in 1996. I started working at Carteret Community College, which is down on the coast in North Carolina. I grew up on the tobacco farm, the first person in my family that had the opportunity and the privilege to be able to access higher education. And part of my journey back then was through two community colleges, ultimately earning my bachelor's degree, then my master's degree, and of course my doctorate. They had a job open at Carteret, and I started there. And I tell people that that's when I really realized that I was home. I felt like I had found my place and I had found my purpose. And I didn't want to be a president for a really long time. I enjoyed being the second in command. I liked being in that second seat. And then I got to a place where my children had grown up, so my life had changed a little bit. But also, I think that I just wanted to push the needle a little further. And I felt like the best way to do that was to be the visionary from the president's seat. And so I started preparing for this job. And I'm very grateful every single day that I did, because I definitely think that I'm able now to not only have found my place and my purpose, but I've got an incredible blessing of being able to live that purpose with passion every single day.
Right. Well, that history of coming up through the community college system is shared by several of our presidents, actually. And I think it's a really cool background to running a community college. How has that influenced the way you think about your current position, your current role with a community college?
You know, it influences pretty much everything, because I can tell my students legitimately that I know what they are experiencing because they were me. You know, they are me years ago. It's not that I can design support systems and really understand every single challenge that today's students are going through, because I'm a lot older than they are. I did this a long time ago. Things have changed. But some of the basic things that our students tend to face are very similar, exactly the same things that I faced. You know, I worked full time. I had children. I was raising my kids and my husband. The kids, I did a good job raising them. I'm still working on the husband. But, you know, the truth is I am a better president because I was a community college student.
You talk a lot about student success. Mm-hmm. Of course, the President's Forum is dialed into student success and supporting students as the primary stakeholder, looking at students before any other stakeholder.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about Forsyth Tech and how you and the institution have prioritized student success. What are some things that you've focused on?
Well, we are all about our students, right? I talk all the time about loving and supporting each and every student to success. The first thing that we did when I came here as president was to work together to build a shared vision for what that looked like, right? We decided that we would be a catalyst for equitable economic mobility, empowering lives, and transforming communities. And that was our vision statement, part of Vision 2025. Community colleges were designed, Wes, to provide access to high-quality public higher education for any and every individual. And in North Carolina, there are 58 community colleges because we took it even further and said, you can access that high quality public higher education within 20 or 30 minutes of where you live. So access is vital. But the second thing that's important, if you have access and you don't have students able to succeed, then you really have not done what we should be doing. If they get here, but they don't get, they are not able to obtain success while they are here, then we have not fulfilled our job. And then the third piece to that is now at Forsyth Tech in particular, we are looking at taking ownership for what happens when they leave Forsyth Tech. So it's not enough just to get them here and give them a degree or a certificate or, a high value credential. We have to make sure those credentials are mapped to the jobs and careers that are going to give them family sustaining wages and help them truly create a better life.
That's a hard thing to do today, is to make sure you're tied into the economy. The economy is so dynamic, and we're seeing such, rapid change in the economy that can be a difficult thing. Have you found anything that has been particularly successful for you as you're trying to make that connection from school institution to career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's several things that are maybe part of the secret sauce. One is that I don't think we can do this work in isolation or in a vacuum. It's really about partnerships. We have to make sure that we are partnering with our K through 12 and other educational systems, but we also have to make sure that we are in a different kind of partnership with our employers than I think maybe 30 years ago when I started this work that we were doing. As an example, we have implemented business and industry leadership teams. So the BUILT model, which is kind of a proactive approach to an advisory committee from the industry. So our industry leaders, actually, I'll give an example of advanced manufacturing. The advanced manufacturing employers in our service area, in our region, lead our work in developing the short-term workforce programs that will feed into the degree programs that have the competencies built in that they tell us they need for their job descriptions, versus we'll build it and then we'll ask them how we did and we'll modify after we've done that. So it's this idea of co-developing the curriculum alongside the stakeholders. And those stakeholders might be the business community in the example that I gave you, but sometimes we've also leaned into this notion of human-centered design, which is about if we are designing systems to support greater levels of success for our students, then let's bring the students into the design process and not just build those schedules along the way they would have worked for me, back in the 80s when I was a community college student. Let's build those systems and those support services and those class schedules to meet the needs of the students of today. And so we kind of co-design alongside our partners. And I think that's really what is helping us see some pretty phenomenal success.
Well, so you've said in the past that you believe in leading from within rather than above. Does that tie into this kind of partnership model? How does that influence your leadership style?
Well, that's exactly right. It's a perfect segue into this whole conversation of leading from within instead of from above. I very much have always considered myself a servant leader, but I also think I truly am a student of distributed leadership, where I believe that, for example, I have an important job at the college. There's no doubt the president's important for the institution, but I don't view what I do as any more vital or critical to our ultimate success than what everyone else here does. I cannot register and advise and coach students to success. I can't do the work that the faculty do, right? So it really is this idea that we are in this together, and it's all about building a vision that people want to go with you towards, right? It's not follow me because I've got a title that says that you have to, but rather let's make it a compelling enough place that we're trying to go, make it as important as it is, and make sure that we've got clarity for our purpose and our why built into everything that we do. So one of the reasons that our Vision 2025 strategic plan was so successful is that it wasn't a strategic plan in the sense of what you normally think of, right? It wasn't a document that we created and put in a book, and then, every so often we brought it off the shelf and said, how did we do? It was a living and breathing part of every decision that we made. It was the strategic roadmap that we developed together. We used data to inform why these things are important. And then everything that we did day to day has in some way tied back to those strategic goals and outcomes that we designed as being the road to success. So that's what I mean by, leading from within, is being a part of all of the work, but not considering myself to be the person that has all the answers, but rather definitely wanting to be the person that provides the resources and the support for the subject matter experts and for the whole team to be able to be engaged and involved in that work.
I love that mindset. I feel like I see that in some of our leaders. And I want to close with a question about the forum. And so I want you to tell us, how do you see collaboration with the forum and other members of the forum benefiting your students? How can we do that?
Well, I was really excited to learn about the forum because, number one, it's just a remarkable group of leaders that you've pulled together, people that I know. I either know them personally or I know what they're doing. I know their work. I know they're student focused. I know that they're community focused. I know that they are leaders who work at colleges that are turning ideas into action. And I think that for me was the key. I love to have theoretical conversations. I love to talk about the great work that we're doing. I love to brainstorm with my colleagues and my team members. How can we do it better? But I don't want to do any of that unless it's going to turn into something tangible for our students, if it's going to turn into action that's going to make things better. So I think the forum is a way for us to come together, to learn, to contribute together on topics, to work on policies together that will help us do things like meet workforce needs better. We don't just change lives, we're changing whole families and communities. And this is an opportunity for us to work together on that effort to really make some action happen.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Janet, I can tell you that the other institutional leaders and presidents in the forum are excited to have you join. I think as we learn more about your work and the focus that you have on access, on student success, it just confirms what a great addition that it is to have you as a member of the forum and the good work that we can do together. So I'm excited for the things that lie ahead and the policy that we can change, the best practices that we can share and implement, and the work that we can do to drive education innovation for student success.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Wes. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be a part of this.
That wraps up our conversation with Janet. For our listeners, you can learn more about Forsyth Tech at forsythtech.edu, and you can find more conversations like this at presidentsforum.org. Thanks for joining us today.